A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight we will be bringing you two very special conversations in a segment that we called Ideas Beyond Borders, where we will feature international startups across the world that are doing some impeccable work and get perspectives from them in terms of how to scale up with global aspirations in international markets and some vital aspects that can help Indian startups or companies to branch out and expand into the global arena. In the first segment, I'll be speaking to Sunil Hiranandani, founder of Sirf Coffee, a bespoke dating service app for the global Indian. And in the second segment, I'll be chatting with Chitra Agarwal, founder Brookyln Delhi, an Indian-American food brand inspired by Desi recipes. Joining me live right now, all the way from London, is Sunil Hiranandani, founder of Sirf Coffee. Hi Sunil, good to chat with you today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So to begin with, Sunil, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what inspired you to start Sirf Coffee, the story behind its inception.
So the impetus of starting Sirf Coffee was to meet someone myself. And that's how I codified my problem, and here we are.
And what would you say is your USP in terms of, how do you differentiate your services from other platforms like Tinder and Bumble?
Sure. We're quite different at Sirf Coffee. It was built ground up for the global, professional, modern Indian, really. As we've taken leaps and bounds in various aspects of our lives, the way we get match made in terms of weddings and marriage is still fairly antiquated. So on one hand, you have these sort of DIY dating apps, which are gamified, predicated on a very superficial interaction at the get-go, which makes for a superficial relationship. On the other hand, you have these more wholesale-esque platforms such as Shadi and others, which are driven by the premise of a wedding. Shadi.com delivers a shadi, and you have engagement with family members and relatives and whatnot. What was missing was something that was empowering, driven by the individual, yet very light touch and sort of focused in its outlook. So we're quite different because we're global and progressive by design. We're bringing back offline engagement, and we're true vested matchmakers. So membership to Sirf Coffee is by application. It's bespoke, it's exclusive. So we're retaining all of the elements of the old school sort of arranged marriage model, but none of the metrics by which those arranged marriages were set up.
Sunil, so you're fully bootstrapped. You haven't raised any VC funding yet. Tell me, how did you manage to build this platform without any external funding? What were some of the early challenges in building and scaling this?
Yep, absolutely. We are indeed bootstrapped, so we haven't taken on a funding round yet. Initially, it was quite challenging because the idea of I think paying online, that too for a service that they haven't heard of. So there were legitimacy issues for the company itself because we hadn't been around very long. The sticker size was quite significant. So you're anywhere from 25,000 rupees all the way to like 5 lakh rupees. And that too, transacting online, at least a decade ago, wasn't the norm in India. Thankfully, that's changed a little bit, and sort of online shopping and has sort of helped us out on that front. But as a company, as a business model, we've had a laser sharp focus on unit economics. I'm a believer that your revenue should fund your growth, or you should have some visibility as to what your monetization strategy should be from the get-go. So we were not a build it and they will come sort of model. We were sort of we kept cash flow in mind from the get-go. So we relied on sort of careful data analysis. We relied on great customer service. So our biggest proponents are happy customers. So if we kept them happy, they were able to sort of spread the word about us, which then sort of became a virtuous cycle that has helped us sort of bypass the fundraising piece thus far.
Sunil, how do you think the concept of matchmaking has evolved over the years? And when it comes to, the business of matchmaking, What are some of the trends or the big ideas that you think will profoundly impact the sector?
I think we've almost come a full circle. So initially you had the aunties and intermediaries and brokers that were sort of matchmaking based on the metrics that I talked about earlier, right? What would make for a good alliance? And then came along these companies like Shadi or Jeevan Sathi that sort of, digitized that search and extended reach, but really didn't challenge the fundamentals of matchmaking. They simply codified it. And then came along sort of Tinder and Bumble and sort of put on a Western layer of dating on top of the Indian wedding context, which again hasn't it's worked in some cases, but there were some ways to go. So we've come a full circle because there's been a fair bit of online fatigue in terms of volume. So the optionality, the instant gratification has destroyed courtship. So what we're seeing is there's almost a little bit of a U-turn to sort of that offline matchmaking, offline dating, meeting in real life, particularly at the back of COVID. People want to engage. We're social creatures naturally. So they're looking forward to meeting folks online. So I think a lot of individuals are pursuing a dual-pronged approach. Yes, there's online profiles and you're sort of trying to maximize reach. But ultimately, what we're craving is that sort of that physical interaction in person where you can feel vibes, you can gauge interest levels and things like that.
Sunil, the theme for our show this season is Ideas for New India. And today, as we explore ideas beyond borders, particularly for Indian entrepreneurs looking to expand their ventures to London, what advice would you give to those individuals, who are considering setting up shops in the city?
Absolutely. I think, sort of India is ready to set its sights far and sort of move beyond borders into other markets. The advice I'd give to entrepreneurs is to sort of, keep your ear to the ground. Don't make assumptions. You may have a good product and a good service, but it definitely needs to be contextualized to whatever market you're going to, whether it's, I'll give you a small example. Global Indians may be a phraseology that's acceptable, but in the UK, where I live, the correct phraseology would be sort of British Indian or even British Asian. So there are things like that one has to be mindful of, rather than having a product or service and then going to find an audience that would want to receive it. You have to listen to your audience, listen to your customers, and build something around them. And that just exponentially increases the likelihood of commercial success.
On that note, Sunil, tell us, how do you then ensure the privacy of your client interactions, addressing concerns, such as security threats, identity fraud, infringement, and all these commonly associated issues with dating apps. How do you address those?
Data and information is a new currency. So we have to be very protective of that currency. Sirf Coffee from the get-go believed in a level of discretion that was not offered by other dating sites or other dating platforms. So we never divulge information to third parties on an individual basis. Any data that we share, it's usually anonymized, or it is always anonymized. We've invested significantly in our own IT infrastructure to make sure it is, protected from malicious malware, viruses, and, is not prone to hacks. Life is a little easier for us because we simply don't share the data with other clients, right? One of the cornerstones of Sirf Coffee is the discretion that we offer. So when we set up two people on a date, we only share first name, industry, sort of age, things like that, just enough to let the other person know whether they know their potential match already, but not enough to sort of look them up online and stalk them.
Finally, before I let you go, tell us, what advice would you give individuals, who are seeking a meaningful relationship in today's fast-paced and digital world?
Showing up at a party, showing up at a work event increases the chances of meeting somebody. So my first piece of advice would be to show up and be open-minded. Even if at the get-go, at the outset, they may not seem like your type, you never know. Equally, on the other side, once you actually have gotten to know someone and are in a relationship, I would recommend, be thorough, be absolutely sure that you want to be with this person. Our capacity to compromise is not like previous generations, right? We identify with materialistic things and where the focus is very much the I. So it becomes incrementally more important that you have a shared value system.
Well, thank you, Sunil. That was a great conversation. I'm sure our viewers would have enjoyed it.
My pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. Conversation now with Chitra Agarwal, founder of Brookyln Delhi, who's joining me live all the way from New York. Thank you, Chitra, for joining us today on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So to begin with, really, the name really caught my eye, Brookyln Delhi. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from Delhi, and how did you come up with the name and the idea behind Brookyln Delhi? Take us through your journey.
Brookyln Delhi is, it pulls together my two worlds. I started the brand in Brooklyn, and my father is from Delhi. And I started, specializing in Indian vegetarian cooking in 2009. And I have been teaching cooking classes. I used to host pop-up dinners. I wrote a cookbook called Vibrant India, and a lot of the work I was doing was about creating recipes that were very much rooted in Indian culinary traditions, but then inspired by maybe local produce or new cuisines that I was discovering in New York City. And Brookyln Delhi basically was kind of an outgrowth of a lot of the work I was doing over the years. And the brand was founded in 2014. My husband is a food packaging designer. And so he designed all the branding, and I still develop all the recipes. So we work together on, creating all the products that we have at Brookyln Delhi. And my first products to market were my achar, which I would make with local vegetables and fruits. I learned how to make pickle from my aunts and my grandmother, my mother, and kind of applying a lot of what I learned to local produce. So I was making it with rhubarb and green gooseberries, tomatoes and garlic, but kind of putting my own spin on it. So now we don't just sell achar, but we also sell simmer sauces and hot sauces. And you can find our products at close to 3,000 stores right now across the country, as well as in Canada and Australia.
So Chitra, give us an overview of your business. What are all the products you have?
Yeah, so the first products were my achars. So I make a tomato achar and a garlic achar, a roasted garlic achar. And what I did was I took a lot of the popular sauces that you find in North Indian restaurants, but I made them all plant-based. So instead of using any butter or cream to get to that creamy consistency, we use an organic coconut cream and cashew butter. So we have a tikka masala, a cashew butter masala, a korma, and also I created a golden coconut curry, which is kind of a mix of Thai and Goan flavors. I'm vegetarian, so I always have a hard time finding a Thai curry that I can eat because there's fish sauce in those. So this is a vegan version of a coconut curry. And then I also launched my hot sauces, which all use Indian chili peppers. So So I have my first one, which is a mild one featuring single origin Guntur Sanam chili peppers from Andhra Pradesh. And then I also have my ghost pepper hot sauce. And then I also launched a mango chutney. I have a sweet mango chutney as well as spicy mango chutney.
Chitra, what would you say is Brookyln Delhi's USP? What sets it apart from other Indo-Western snack brands in the grocery landscape?
Well, I'd say that our flavors. So we still make everything in small batches, and I go to our production run, so I'm there to taste everything. I think that a lot of the other brands on the market are either imported or they are making it in very large batches, and they're trying to try to make a product that is as cheap as possible. But we are a premium brand, so we don't really skimp on our ingredients. We don't use any fillers. And at the end of the day, also, I'm at the center of the brand. All these recipes are developed by me, and they're using all the ingredients that I find in my own cupboard. So they don't have any preservatives whatsoever. We don't even use citric acid.
Could you also talk to us about some of the challenges or the road bumps that you perhaps encountered in your early days, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so in the beginning, when we were selling achar, it's very much not it is such a staple in South Asian cuisine, but to a lot of Americans, they don't know what it is. And, they may know chutney, but they don't know what Indian pickle is. So there's a lot of education, and still is, as to what achar is and how to use it. And, one thing that we realized was that a way to kind of educate people was through a partnership we struck with Blue Apron, which is a meal kit company. So what Blue Apron does is they take our achar and they put it into recipes in their meal kits. And so people get educated on what the flavor is, but also how you can use it. So we've sampled our achar through Blue Apron to millions of customers over the years, and that has helped to educate people and drive people to then buy our achar in the store.
Chitra, I also want to try and understand the India Connect. Do you work with any business partners here in India, or do you source ingredients from India, or work with Indian businesses here perhaps?
Yeah, so as I said, for my our new spicy mango chutney, we source a Kashmiri chili that is grown on a family farm in Kashmir. We also source Guntur Sanam chili peppers straight from Andhra Pradesh that are single origin, also from a family farm, that go into our Guntur Sanam hot sauce. And we do source several of our spices are definitely coming from India, working with distributors and partners there. So we're definitely, using a lot of the different flavors, traditional flavors that I grew up with, but then kind of, mixing it up a little bit with how we're presenting it to our customers.
The theme for our show this season is Ideas for New India. And today, as we are exploring ideas beyond borders, especially for Indian entrepreneurs who are looking to sort of expand their ventures, to US, what advice would you give those individuals, who are considering moving, or starting up in a city as competitive as New York?
In order to really get the ball rolling, you should be doing a lot of market research as far as where the consumer is. So, we started this business, as I was saying, with achar, which is a product that a lot of people are not as familiar with in the US. So it takes a lot of education, and it's something that I believe in, and I'm willing to be patient about. So, we've been around for 10 years, and it took us 4 years to become profitable. But I believe in it so much that, I just kept on going, knowing that, I just want more people to try these flavors. So I think that that's another piece for entrepreneurs, is to kind of understand, and set your expectations, because the food business is a very challenging one. The margins are not great. But if you kind of figure out a balance between, where Indian flavors and consumer demand meet, I think that you'll have an easier time at it. But I also think that you should always lead with passion. This is an industry that will wear you down if you are not passionate about what you're doing, and it's going to take time. So my advice is that if you are passionate, definitely go for it, but do the research to understand what types of products would be most successful for your brand.
Finally, what's the road ahead for Brookyln Delhi? What's the vision you have for the brand? How do you wish to take it ahead?
Becoming the premium Indian brand in American markets. I want to take these flavors that I grew up with and take them mainstream. And I do believe that they have a place. They can have a place in everyone's pantry. I do also see that we will continue to develop more products at Brookyln Delhi and build out our pantry offering so that people can be introduced to a host of different types of Indian dishes, and hopefully look for Brookyln Delhi to be part of their everyday meals.
Thank you, Chitra. It was great talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you and goodbye.